Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch 2 video here today talking about the new character, of course, Illari. Wanted to, give a bit of time before I gave my first thoughts about her, and obviously these are going to change rather quickly because we do know that her healing pylon and her ultimate, kind of the two headline parts of her kit, are getting scaled back. They're getting some sort of nerf. We don't know when or in what way. Obviously, I think it's going to be happening within the week. Could be heck, today or tomorrow. For all I know, it's going to happen, before she gets put into competitive. Maybe it happens on the same day. Not sure. But she needs it because she is way too strong. Granted, we're only playing her in quick play right now where everything is great. Like, nothing is bad in quick play at any level because people don't try as much and people do crazy things and do wacky stuff, make wacky comps, and just try to make anything work, and anything can work because of just the different behaviors that people have in quick play. And everyone else also has their own Illari, so it's basically always a mirror match, and that can kind of like skew how well they do in certain matchups because it's always going to be mirrored, right? As you can see, I built up an ultimate insanely quick. It only took like a minute, 15 seconds, and we're just gonna kill 1, kill 2, and kill 3, and kill 4. Sorry, I didn't get the Bastion in there. Didn't get the final blow on that. But her ultimate is insane. I know it does have counters to it, as many people have pointed out. If Kiriko cleanses it, like, it has no value. D.Va can eat it. Orisa can eat it, Sigma can eat it, less so those last two, especially Sig. He doesn't have as much maneuverability as Orisa does during her javelin spin. And obviously the defense matrix has a bigger range of absorption. But, number one, nobody plays D.Va because she's just not good right now. Not that she can't work again, I play plenty of quick play. Anything can work in quick play, so she can work there. But obviously, any character can win at any possible time if the other team is bad enough. But you know what I mean. D.Va's just not strong right now. Everything that's good right now is insanely good against D.Va. And things that D.Va is good against are just kind of always going to be strong because D.Va's, I don't think, ever going to be really in the meta or a prevalent character you see at any level. To any level, from bronze to top 500. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. As you can see, I got another ultimate again because this character's output of heals and damage is insane. It is more often than not in the lobbies that I've seen, whether I'm Illari or a teammate is Illari, or obviously the enemy probably has one as well. It is more often than not that Illari leads the entire lobby in a limbs, damage, and heals. That's totally not an abnormality. That is not a rarity at all. It is, probably around half the time that is what is going to be happening. And like I said, quick play, those things are kind of skewed, but we've seen this before. A character that can lead the entire lobby in a limbs, damage, and heals. We've seen Moira do that since she came out. And obviously she's had, a few changes here and there and a couple of nerfs to where she's not something that I think people will complain about right now or are worried about right now, and you don't see much of her right now. But that's kind of a thing that we're all used to Moira doing, leading the lobby in the limbs, damage, and heals, right? And she can do that even still today and not be considered way too strong. So on the surface of things, that doesn't cry immediate this needs to be nerfed. But when you take a look at the context and her entire package, Illari is just too strong. Yes, the ultimate does have counters, but the healing pylon is the strongest part of her kit. It's got so much health. It's got an insane range, and some of its health is shield health. Absolutely ridiculous. It's like having a third support on your team. It's just that much heals. Completely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous how much heals you get out of that pylon, how much it is per burst, how many bursts you get per second. It's truly ridiculous. And the fact that it's very hard to destroy. There's a lot of places in cover and high walls to where it's not going to be. The enemy didn't have really a good chance of destroying my pylon high up on a wall that the corner they're going to have to turn very dangerously against with the front line that we had. It's not something that's going to be easily taken care of. I mean, we've all had times where Torb turrets, where it's like, oh, it's so far in the back and it's getting, you know, repaired, and we have to kill something in front of it. And we've seen plenty of times where, you know, Symmetra, her turrets are on the wall, much like Illari's healing pylon can be, to where it's like, just don't have an LOS on it for a bit. And once you can, you have an opportunity to destroy it, but Illari's pylon has so much health, and it regenerates because some of it is shield health, which is crazy. Like, you need, some characters need to reload while putting every single bullet into that healing pylon in order to destroy it. Like, its time to kill, or time to die, I guess I should say, is pretty long for what it does. It's kind of ridiculous. And it's, you know, it's smaller than a Torb turret, and it's bigger than a Symmetra turret, so it's not like it's super tiny. But the LOS that it requires, and how difficult it is to destroy, I think is a bit unbalanced. It is way too strong in its current form, how much heals it does, and how hard it is to destroy. And without the pylon, her heals do suffer a bit because it is on a small resource that will deplete fairly quickly, but it is a nice burst of healing. As you saw when the Brig was getting ulted by the Bastion, getting hit by multiple shots of that ultimate, I was still able to keep her up through it. And obviously she had a shield, so that helped possibly a little bit, depending on how the splash worked out. But Illari is great, and she's amazing on the new game mode. It is kind of, I don't know if it was just happenstance that a character that is insane on the new game mode just also happened to be released at the same time. As you see, the Kiriko cleansed my ult there very, very quickly. I mean, they kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but it just happened to be timed perfectly. So sometimes if you don't fire immediately, a Kiriko does jump the gun a bit, and they use the cleanse too quickly, and then you fire the ult off, because, you know, it's kind of like trying to block a high noon. You need to, like, pick when you're going to do it, because you can get the window wrong very easily. So yeah, she is way too strong. I think, you know, people do talk about power creep when it comes to new characters, or mobility creep, because every single new character that's been added to the game recently has a mobility button, a, you know, get out of jail free card, as many people like to say. But hers is a bit different. You know, it's not as good as escaping as Moira's or Kiriko's are, though Kiriko requires a teammate to be nearby, and that invulnerability has been nerfed a couple of times and also bugged. So, you know, she's had that to deal with, but also it's a boop, so like it has a kind of like a double utility in that way. Illari's pulse, or whatever it's called, I'm not sure, but it's a way to self-peel as well as boop somebody off a ledge, or, you know, not even just to get the kill, but to get the separation or knock them off high ground or something like that. I've had a couple of games where the Reaper tries to teleport right at me, and I just boop him off because I'm in the back line, I'm sniping. I mean, and there's not much he can do about it. I do like Illari's kit. I do think it's overtuned right now, and I think that is, you know, that's been exemplified in a lot of gameplays that we've seen, or, you know, clips that where it's like, that seems a bit too strong. And some of those are comboed with like an Orisa ult, or, you know, a Zarya ult, or things like that. And it's like, yeah, everything's going to be stronger when it's comboed with like a big CC tank ult. But what Illari can do combined with another ultimate is, say, stronger than Dragon Strike, or maybe even Genji Blade in certain circumstances. I mean, if it doesn't get stopped, it is some of the biggest value out of the ultimate economy that any character can do. I mean, and this is coming from the support role, which is interesting. If a DPS character had her ultimate, it would be insane. But the fact that she isn't a DPS character and she's got this good of an ult, and it's a damaging ult, is kind of ridiculous. It really is. It's not something I would have expected out of a support character. Not every support character, of course, has a healing ult or something like that. Like, you can use Nano Boost defensively to help somebody that's really, really weak, or offensively going in with the Genji Blade, or, you know, comboing with Visor or Barrage or anything like that. It has kind of multiple, and that's kind of the stronger way of using it, is offensively, not so much the tank is low, let me keep it up. Sometimes that is really strong, really good to do, especially if you're Ryan just coming in and swinging and stuff like that. But, you know, Lifeweaver now has a good support ultimate. It's at least not the worst ult in the game, I think, anymore. And I think it's pretty good. And it was a smart way of doing it without it stepping on Zen's toes or Lucio's toes and having its own kind of niche in giving overshields, while Illari's is just plain straight up damage, right? It does, you do have to do additional things, so it's not like super duper free like some ultimates are, where you don't really have to worry about follow up or things like of that nature. To where, you know, Illari's not going to like run into a team and then just like wipe them all out by herself. Honestly, that can happen. We've seen plenty examples of that. I have, of course, myself. It's good as offensive initiation, but you know, sometimes depending on your support partner on your team, her ult might not be good with your other support ult, to where you're lacking something. And as you can see, the ability to 2-tap a squishy is really strong. Sure, they're headshots, but the size of her projectile, fully charged, it is bigger when it is more charged. It's insane. It's a lot bigger than most people realized. It's one of the easier hit scans to hit, and it is hit scan, of course. I think it's actually bigger than Sojourn's Railgun, which, you know, visually looks to be around the same size, similar type of, you know, single hit scan beam mechanic, and of course charged as well, but this kind of just charges up over half a second or whatever it might be. You know, don't quote me on that time. Obviously, it's wrong, but I do like that she kind of fills a role that the support was lacking, a more damage oriented support that can kind of be a bit threatening at mid-range. You know, at long ranges, even if you are hitting headshots, you're probably not getting those kills unless they're already weak from another source of damage. So while she's a great duelist, she can take on a couple of... I mean, if she has her pylon out, she can kind of beat any DPS character, as long as it's not like, you know, like a Reaper up in her face or a Bastion existing, right? Like, nothing really beats those. But the amount of value that she gives offensively as well as defensively, let alone together, is pretty insane. The fact that she has, you know, a mobility move as well and a strong ultimate, it's kind of like she's the opposite of Lifeweaver at launch, which was, of course, their intention. But he wasn't the best at healing. He was terrible at damage, and he had a terrible ult. Whereas, you know, Illari is the exact opposite. Her damage is insane, her healing is insane, and her ultimate is insane. So, yeah, she does need to be reined in a bit. But I do think that she's a good character and a good kit. Nothing needs to be adjusted about the properties, I think. They're just going to tune some numbers, I think. Maybe the amount of explosion damage that her ult does when it gets detonated, or maybe you need more damage to proc it, or sorry, to activate its explosion radius. And you can always make the shield pylon or the healing pylon have less health, and take away the shield health. They probably won't change like the size, or, you know, maybe they make the distance, the range of it smaller, because right now it's ridiculous. You can throw it way up on the wall, like use your movement ability, hold down so you get further vertical distance, and then chuck it up on the wall to make it way more difficult. Even if your opponent sees the beam coming, because there is a visual where you can see the direction that it's coming from. So sometimes that's you know, it's going to give the general location, but they're going to be looking for it, you know, at door height or something like that, and it's way further up there, and they have to look up, and they're getting damaged and things like that. And, you know, hopefully the Illari isn't dead at that point, to where she can kind of just defend it by having good offense. And as you can see, without the pylon, it can be real big clutch heals. We are, I think, making a mistake trying to fight the Mei in such close quarters and the D.Va out of her mech, but we make them invest, and they use the Blizzard just to kill the Bastion. I quote unquote escape, but the Moira does kill me because I do not hit the headshots. That was definitely me getting outplayed there. I think even no matter what the nerfs are, since her damage isn't getting touched, I think she's going to be good regardless of what the nerfs are. And I don't think they want to nerf her too much, kind of like how they didn't want to buff Lifeweaver too much with the first set of changes, that they felt like it wasn't enough, and they gave him a couple more buffs at the start of this season. So I think she's still going to be in a good spot, and she's going to be applicable on a lot of maps. I think she's going to be really great in the new game mode and Flashpoint. Her pylon is just, I mean, builders as a whole in Flashpoint is, I think, really strong, because your ability to hunker down a position if you get there first or after you take it to hold it, when it comes to Symmetra turrets, as you see there, Torb turrets, and Illari's healing pylon, all of those in conjunction with really anything is going to put you in a really big advantage, especially since Sim and Torb are some of the strongest characters in the game right now, and Torb got a buff for some reason, even though he was already great. He was already in a good spot. I wouldn't say like too strong, but definitely a high pick rate, relative to the role. I wouldn't say he had a low pick rate, and just a lot of value in a good spot. And now he's even stronger to where I didn't think it was necessary. So, yeah, Illari's going to be good in a lot of game modes and a lot of maps. Maybe a couple of maps or two where she might not be that good, and depending on what the nerfs are, there's not like a great answer to her. Obviously, yes, eating her ultimate is great, but again, how often are you going to see a diva on a team, especially on a team that wins, right? Orisa is getting a rise in popularity, and the solar flare effect can get bubbled out via Zarya, but that's only going to be 2 people, and ideally you're hitting more than that. But the fact that you can get pretty much like 1 plus more than 1 guaranteed kill on average makes it an insane ability. Like, there are DPS ultimates that aren't that strong. You're happy if you get a single kill with Pulse Bomb, right? And that's the hardest ultimate to use in the entire game. And, to make up for it, it's one of the faster charging ones, but not as fast as Tyre. And Tyre's going to get multiple kills pretty much every single time. Illari's charge is way faster, at least right now. And you're typically going to get multiple kills with it. It's going to be much more consistent. So she's a good character, way too good right now, a lot of people think. But, of course, it's new, and everything seems stronger or weaker than they actually are on the onset of things, because people are still learning how to play them as well as play against them. So no matter what the nerfs are, I think she's going to be in a fine spot. She's a fun character to play, fits a niche in the support role that I think needed it, and obviously a role that needed the most help because I had the least amount of characters, and there's 2 of them that you need on each team. So a welcome addition, a really strong addition, and we'll see how the nerfs affect her, because right now she's bombastic.